Welcome back to the Kat-Chup. Today I am joined by a very special guest, someone who has been described as looking somewhat like Rugby League Guru. Now, I don't want to confuse you because Rugby League Guru is here. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Hello, how
I didn't
are
think
you?
I'd get the first introduction.
No.
He looks a little bit less like me at the moment, which I'm not overly comfortable with.
This is true, but I would love to welcome NRL Roast. Roasty, welcome to the Kat-Chup. It's so great to have you on the show. How are you?
Oh, it is an honour and a privilege to be on here. It's been a few months in planning.
Yes.
You asked me ages ago, and the stars have aligned this week, so I'm in here. But thanks for having me, Kat.
Thank you for joining
fresh
us.
face Roasty.
Yeah.
Yeah, can I hijack for a second? Why? What's the go?
Well, I actually did it for a piece of content. So, content's king.
Always.
And a couple of weeks ago with my daughter, I had to do something where people's teams' finals chances were disappearing. And so with my beard, I did patches. Then I did a mustache for a very slim chance of finals. And then when it was completely gone, they were just written off for the finals. So, for content. It was for content purposes.
How do you feel without it? Because I don't know if I could get by day to day without mine.
The cool breeze against my skin of an evening is very nice. But I don't particularly like it. Get a little bit of stubble here. It is growing back, but I'm going to keep it probably for the summer. See how I go. But the beard or the grey hairs in the beard will come back.
Just in time for footy season, you'll get it back for people to get us mixed up again.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
Maybe Vegas. We'll go back over again.
I was gonna
2-for-1 deal if anyone wants to.
Sounds good.
I was going to say, if not Magic Round, at the very least, I can see a few photos being taken at that point in time as well. Well, Roasty, like I said, thank you for joining us on the show. We've wanted to have you on for ages because we refer to so much NRL Roast content in the show. It started as a social media catch-up show. We've done interview content and whatnot, but the heart of the show is kind of reviewing some of the biggest talking points every weekend. And I find that I often end up defaulting to NRL Roast to understand what's happened over the weekend that I might have missed. What are the funny moments? Do you want to just talk us through how the NRL Roast came to be and I guess what inspired you to create a page like that?
Yeah, look, I appreciate the kind words on the page. Thank you. And that's the idea of it, is to just give people a bit of a rundown. If they've missed the game or they can't see it and they're going to social media for it, this is where they can go and get some sort of information and try and do it in a humorous way as well, mixing it up with news and stuff. But so I started 2017. So I've been going for, just nearly 8 years.
Wow.
Really just out of boredom. I started creating some stuff with some mates around actual MMA. We started doing mixed martial arts around the UFC. And then I feel, looking around the NRL sites, it was quite boring, I thought, with some of the content. It was sort of repetitive. I was like, I think I can do something around here, and always had a love for rugby league. So I was like, why not do it on league? Started on that, and the page just blew up. Like within the first couple of years I had, it was mainly Facebook, and I think the first year ended up with like 50,000 followers.
Wow.
Which was a massive, massive growth. And I was like, okay, I need to stick and do this. And I was just doing stuff differently to other pages. Like, a team would lose and they'd throw out a pack of tissues with their logo on it, like, have a cry or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they just kept on throwing that out, or the same stuff. And I do it every now and then, do throw some stuff out that I've thrown out before, but it was more repetitive from them. So I'm like, I'm just going to do it differently, get creative with videos and reactionary stuff to the games. And that's where I found my niche. And then people reacted to it. So that's where it blew up. But so I've been going for 7 years. 2019, I worked in finance before that. 2019 got made redundant. Thought, you know what, I'm going to have a run at this and have a go. And immediately the next day, someone called me up and said, we want you to do content for us. So I went and started doing content, and it enabled me to keep going with the roast and do it. And I've built up to be where it is today, where it's, generating income, which is great, having a laugh, getting to games, mixing it up with fans, and that's what it's all about.
That is so cool. What is the dynamic for you in terms of producing content? How much of it is dedicated to game time and what's happening in actual matches versus, I guess, that meme creation that you do, but then you do a lot of collaborations too, I've noticed.
Yes.
Do you find that one thing drives the page more than another?
I look at you've got Guru, Bloke, you've got those guys that do the during the week stuff, give us all that valuable information that we need to do our footy tips, to look at games differently and things like that. That's where the experts lie. And I just look at the games where I'm like, okay, every team's posting a score update. NRL's posting a score update. They're all doing the same stuff. How is my social media stuff going to be different to them? So I'm like, okay, I'll try and do it a bit memey. Get a post out there that's different to. It's still a score update at the end of the day, but it's different to the NRL, Bloke, Fox, whatever it is. They're doing like a picture with the score. I'm doing something just a little bit different that'll get shared as well. When you're a fan, if you're looking at the score at the end and you want to share it to your story, you might do your own club. You share that, or you share the NRL, or you share Fox, whatever it is. You're not going to share all 4 of them. You'll only do one. So, but then if you see mine, which is a bit funnier, a bit different, memeier, which they like, they're going to share that as well.
I also think you're more likely, and obviously I don't have a team that I go for, but I would imagine that if you I know Tom and Eddie, for example, hate Parramatta. Like if they were to lose and you make a funny one taking the piss out of Parramatta, they're almost as likely to share that as they are with their Manly one sort of thing.
Yeah, and plenty of other fans of other teams are likely to share it because they find that funny and it's got nothing to do with their team.
Yeah.
So that's where I lie and that's where I want to stay. And it's funny because like I reached out to, which I know you guys have dealt with, Nev from Watch a Footy.
Yep.
And she started doing it with the meme sort of stuff. And I reached out and said, I absolutely love this. Please keep it going because no one's doing it in the NRLW space. You're doing it like an awesome job. And she's like, I was worried I was like, stepping on your foot. I'm like, no, don't, because that's what we want. We want more of this sort of stuff. And so it's good to see that flow on effect as well to other pages. But yeah, I suppose that's where I want to just do something different around the footy each weekend. Leave the experty stuff because I'm not an expert. I'm just a fan. I'm just a guy watching footy that loves footy. Yeah. And I want to have a laugh about it and share that with other people so they get a laugh out of it.
But I think, you also make it digestible to the casual fan too. Yeah. Because it's like I might not understand why a Parramatta losing to Manly is such a big deal or why Parramatta losing to the Bull. I don't know why Parramatta keeps losing, but, the rivalry between these clubs, you put them in meme form and it's easily digestible. It's understandable for the average fan to go, oh, that's why that was a big deal.
And when you do it, do you have a bank of memes that you have ready to go and
Is it meme first?
Yeah, is it meme first, footy first? How does it...
No, you got to let the footy dictate it, right?
Yeah.
Like whatever the story is. Sometimes if you force a preconceived idea into the game, then people can spot it.
Yeah,
and they
for sure.
No, it didn't work. But if you there's always going to be
That's
something
why
happening.
I could never do it.
Yeah.
I don't think like that.
Yeah,
the way that you're able to game finishes, Hammy's very similar. He's just, the way that Hammy manages to relate anything to
draws
this
a
perfect
reference.
Simpsons meme
Yeah.
is unbelievable to me. Like being able to, and the way that you always, and it, you have to post it within a couple of minutes or there's no point doing it.
100%, yeah.
The speed you do it at, I always just sit there and go, that is unbelievable.
There obviously is stuff that you have pre-planned. You have an idea, like by halftime, you know what the storyline's going to be. You know, like a team's behind. If they come back, then that's a story. If the other team follows on and puts on a big score, then that's the story, right?
Okay, so a team comes from behind.
Yep.
Do you have a bank in your mind of memes that suit that sort of narrative? Is that how it works? Or
not in my mind. I'm a computer.
on your computer? Yeah, okay,
I do think about it and go, right, what have I seen where, Undertaker rising from the dead is, we've seen all them. What's something similar to that? Is it wrestling-based meme, which, my followers sort of follow and enjoy as well? Is it a movie comeback? Is it, John Wick, something that's happened? Sometimes it's just as easy as I've watched a movie recently and it's a pain for my family when I'm sitting and watching a movie and I have to stop and rewind and write something down because I want to take that to clip up later on to use. And
That's 100% your Deadpool reference recently. That had to be.
Oh, I've watched that like 6 or 7 times, I reckon, already. It is like brilliant. And I've already got something ready for Spoon Bowl ready using that. But it's that. It's like watching it and going, right, what am I going to get from this movie now? And it's annoying to watch a movie and start clipping up memes, but it's also fun at the same time. Yeah. But I now watch it in a different way. The same thing is I watch football in a different way to the average fan. I'm not watching it analytically and going, which team's on the upper. I'm looking at it going, okay, I can see this funny guy in the crowd. I hope the camera captures him, or whatever it is. I'm just looking at it a little bit different. So it's always let the football dictate what you want to post, because if you have a preconceived idea of what you want to send, then it's not going to work. It's not going to relate.
I am so envious of the way you get to watch footy. Like when I watch, it's just so intense, and you're having to watch so many little things and Supercoach scores and all this sort of stuff. That sounds like fucking bliss.
I was listening to you though when you talked about you had Supercoach and you had a player. The person you were versing had Darwin Watene.
Yeah.
So you watched that last try, and you hated it because he he scored against you. So that's why I actually stopped playing Supercoach, because I started hating players for scoring against me.
Completely
and I didn't
fair.
want to do that. Yeah. And but like I'm probably a bit more mature now, where I can get back into it and go, it's okay. But
Nope.
no, maybe I'll just stay away then.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I look at it a lot differently than just watching and enjoying a game of football, which is, it's hard sometimes, but that's in the content game.
So like 8 games of footy a weekend. I'm watching 8 from 8.
Yep.
Are you in the same sort of ballpark?
There will be times when I miss a half of footy.
Yeah.
Saturday, Friday nights with my kids and stuff like that. Saturday afternoons with the kids and they play sport. Sunday, I go with the local footy team as well. So I'm up doing some stuff with them. Up the Spaceman too. I don't know when this is going out, if it's going out this week or next week. If it's next week, congratulations on winning the grand final on Sunday against Mudgee. But
the boys will be too hungover regardless for this show on Tuesday.
But yeah, so there's times when I'll miss certain games, and I won't go back and watch it because I don't need to watch it. I need to react to it.
Yeah.
And if I'm not getting something out straight after the game, I will for if I do the review purposes, rewind purposes and stuff like that. I'll go back and watch a certain highlight or whatever. But if I miss it, I miss it. But I try and watch 8 games of footy every week.
Right.
Yeah.
It's so interesting just because, like you said, it's just a different approach. You take much more of an analytical approach. Roasty, it's very content driven. You sound like a producer, to be honest, when you talk about how you're looking for all these moments and the storylines and how you can turn it into content. It's very producer. Yeah. It's really cool.
You're taking notes for the talent, the real talent to do it after the show. Yeah. After the game, in the show after the game. But I've got to get it out straight after and relax.
Yeah. I can't imagine those moments where you're wanting to get it out quickly.
Sorry. Do you ever get to the end of games and you are just completely stumped for a mean?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah?
There's times when there've been times when there's 3 minutes to go in a game and I have absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And then 3 minutes later I've got something out.
Yeah.
It's just, I can't explain. It's just, that's how my brain operates.
Yeah.
I'm a bit weird in that way, I suppose, that I can just sit and do nothing and then all of a sudden in 3 minutes just go bang, 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 bang and get it done. Okay. But also in that I feel like sometimes there is nothing and I'll just let it go. I just won't get anything out because nothing worse than trying to force something out to people. And they can pick it up too. Fans will go, it's not your best, Roasty. And I probably shouldn't have just left it. Because I feel like if I leave it, I've missed an opportunity. But sometimes it's just better just to leave it. And, there was a game. What was the game on the weekend? Knights Titans.
Yeah.
I actually didn't even watch it. Knights won. And I was just there's really no storyline there apart from Knights now getting to play for 8th. But that's next week's storyline, not this week. Against the Titans, it's not. So I just left it.
Fair play.
Yeah, I think that's fair play. Now, let's move on because I said to you that there was kind of one request that I had with you coming on the show today, which was...
Sorry, Kat, I had to stay clothes on.
Wow, he's quick, this one.
Probably a bit wrong, sorry.
It's okay.
Very good.
It was great, actually. I wanted you to bring some of your top or favourite content that you've produced over this season because it's round 27. We've hit the last round of the regular.
I can't believe it, round 27.
I know.
We talked about
crazy.
5 weeks to go. And
unbelievable.
I know. It's
feel like we're in
crazy.
Vegas yesterday.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But with that said, it's been such an exciting season. We saw you at Magic Round. You guys were together in Vegas. There's so much great content that's come out of 2024. And I'm sure you're already thinking of what next year looks like. But I'd love to just touch on some of your favorite pieces of content from this year, and then we'll give you some of ours as well. Because like I said, you really have been a huge part of the Catch-Up from a social media front. So I'd love to know what you've enjoyed creating, and then we'll tell you ours as well. So do you want to give us your first one?
Yeah. So I suppose we go back to the beginning. Like there was, some of the big moments in footy. We had Vegas, we've had Magic Round, and just getting to those, big environments and getting content around that. Like even just as simple as you and I, you said, let's get that video, and it was us walking, and it was to the side of Tom, remember Tom Brady and Gronk after they won, it was dun. And I was just like, that's cool. It's just a quick piece of content. Getting over there and mixing it with the fans and the teams in Vegas, which is absolutely special. Walking around, I come from a small country town, and 30 minutes away, another small country town. Walking along Vegas, and I bump into a family from there, from Yagara, and I'm just like, "What the hell are you doing here?" Like,
wow.
And stopped and had a chat with them for 20 minutes. So moments like that, getting some content around that. But Magic Round was probably the biggest one. As much as I love Vegas for content purposes, I think Magic Round is always special. We got to go up on top of the Caxton, the iconic Caxton, have a beer to open Magic Round. Was like phenomenal. I got to go behind the bar and pour a beer for punters. So those sort of things, and getting just to mix it at the games. Unlike other people who go to Magic Round, don't even go to games. I like to go to every single game.
Yeah.
That felt personal.
Yeah. Talk about watching footy. Like that's our challenge. I go there with some mates and we try and get to every single game. Sure, you miss, half a game here and there or whatever, but we make sure we watch at least, one half of football of every single game. And we love that. Like the six of us that catch up. It's our only time that we catch up every year. So getting in around that and the content that comes from that, walking around, people yelling out, "Hey, Roasty," which is, I don't get that I get it ironically in my hometown, like people take the piss out of me. But walking around there and just mixing it, like I'll just stop and have a chat and talk footy. And
I guess like for us, mate, and for you as well, this inside out, like you post this stuff, you press a button and you don't think about it again, then you get up to Magic Round, and it's sort of like, it's almost an intimidating thing to see the community.
Yeah.
Just how many people actually give a fuck.
Yeah.
Always rattles me.
Yep.
It's like even just walking through Caxton Street and everything, like it can take us half an hour to get through because there's just so many people that just want to say hi and thanks, and it's unbelievable up there.
My mates, like they take the piss out of me because people stop and like want to photo. I'm not saying I get stopped by 100 people or whatever, but like we get stopped by a couple of people that want a photo, and I'm like, yeah, fucking, let's go. Like, love that, and stop and have a chat with them. And so they're all taking the piss. I'm like, can I get a photo with Roasty?
Mate, I was at a Bucks this weekend at the Parramatta game. That's exactly, I had the piss taken out of me for the same thing for 3 hours.
Yeah.
It
Good
was,
fun.
It's great. It's unreal. I do the exact same thing. It's great.
But jumping on the roof. Like if we talk about one single piece of content, having a beer on the top of the Caxton roof was probably it.
Special.
Kick it off. Yeah, it was pretty special.
That's pretty damn cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Guru, what's one of your favourite pieces of content that you've seen from NRL Roast?
Oh, for me, and probably because I was on the floor there as well with you, but just Vegas as a whole, it was just so special. Like there was a couple of times, like I remember getting off the plane, landing in Vegas, getting off the plane, turned on my phone. The first thing I saw was you out the front of my hotel.
Yes.
Being like, the Excalibur, what's it called?
Excalibur,
the Men Down Under, or what was that show?
Down Under.
Down Under, that was called? Yes, you had all the blokes that are ripped to pieces, like, Guru's staying here, I know why, because he's looking for the CBAs. It was literally, I remember getting off, standing in the airport, seeing pokies, looked down at my phone, and when I first got reception, and that was the first thing I saw, and I was like, oh, this is great.
Yep.
I'm fucking on here. This is unreal. And even like we were obviously in Allegiant Stadium a few days before the game kicked off, and just being in there, like the Super Bowl was there 12 days ago.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we were like the
so
Kansas
cool.
City Chiefs logo was still at our feet. And
Yeah.
I remember you scoring the try in the stadium and
actually,
everything. That's fucking cool.
Forgot about that. That was like, I had a piece of content where I videoed myself pretending to score a try in the corner. I said I've scored the first official try in Vegas. so yeah, and it was like that, I ended up one of the players. I kicked a ball, Ruben Garrick, and he kicked the ball back to me, and I got to catch it. And I'm just like, how is this like real life?
That's incredible.
God, that's so cool. I think it's definitely one of those things where you produce so much and you do so much that you almost forget about these things that you've done, and then you look back like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened this year.
And when you're already thinking about like, what am I doing this week? What are the games? If you just do forget. So when you ask like, oh, I need top 5, I'm like, shit, I can't remember.
It's
like,
hard, yeah.
And you don't want to just go back and go, what was most popular, what was most liked, what was my favourite, like what did I actually like doing? Sometimes they're the pieces of content which sometimes don't go that well in engagement worlds, but that you're more proud of, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you like and you thought, you know what, this was pretty special for me.
That whole week in Vegas was so special though. It was
I was lucky because I took my family over and we holidayed for 2 weeks beforehand.
Yeah.
And so actually by the time we got to Vegas, we were buggered.
Yeah.
We'd done Disneyland, New York, like it was hectic. So by the time we got to Vegas and we ended up in this shittiest hotel. I don't know, did you hear the Oyo stories?
Yes, I did.
Did you hear them, Kat? So I booked the Oyo, which I thought it was a decent hotel. It was just off the strip. It was basically, they called it the RSL of Vegas.
Oh, no.
And then Klutz and Dust, they wanted suggestions. They said, where are you staying? And this was before I landed there. I said, I'm staying at the Oyo. So they went and booked there. Then they went and told Budgie Smuggler they were staying there. So then they got all these dodgy rooms. The elevators didn't work. They had Denny Vegas singing bloody karaoke songs and
let's be
shots.
real, Vegas is pretty tacky even in the nicest places.
Yes. Well, this is like extra tacky. This is where people go when you get kicked out of every other hotel in Vegas. So,
but even just like, I remember there was one point walking around Vegas and it was you, me, Hammy, Ella, like it was me from South Sydney, you from Parkes, the boys from Brisbane. There was Hammy from Canberra, Manly from Ella, like all these people.
Manly from Ella.
Manly from Ella, Ella from Manly, like all these people that, I consider close mates now that I just like, in what other universe outside of content would we have all met each other, let alone be walking around Vegas for 5 or 6 days?
Cool.
It's just wild, like insane.
It's credit to the content world as well, right? The way that it's drawn all of you guys together. Because in no other era of footy would you see something like this. And
if they did this 10 years ago, it'd be all the old faces of footy.
Yep.
It'd be all the old footy players.
Yes.
And not that they're not worthy of it, but that's who they would get to promote it. That's who they send over. You're correct, and get them on camera, and they push it out on Fox and here. Yeah. Now they utilise they don't, I suppose, spend the money for us. We do it ourselves, a lot of it, but we're producing the content which they also rely on to help build the game.
Yeah, for sure.
I think what we're seeing too, and I've seen a lot of this with Guru this year, is just broadcasters understanding the role that the content creator can play as well. It's a whole new audience, but it's to your storylines and your narratives and your memes, it's a whole different perspective that you guys were able to offer in Vegas, and it complemented everything that the broadcaster was doing. But I think it would be fair to say that every fan that was watching along from home, like I was, valued the broadcast as much as we valued any other content we saw you guys doing, because that's the POV that I would have had if I had gone. So it's really important to have that. Now, I want to jump in. You mentioned your family. Talk to us a bit about the KO content that you've been doing with your daughter, because surely that's perfect for you because you're able to have a bit of fun with your kids and integrate them into your work a bit.
100%. So this is one of them when you asked what I've been most passionate about, I suppose, throughout the year. We do a weekly thing with my daughter. It's called Roasty and the Kid. And it was a way to, how do we bring families into watching football via KO, and obviously they're behind it, but using my daughter, she can take the piss out of me. Yeah. I can have a bit of fun with her. She's got my sense of humour, or she's developing that sense of humour. Sorry, Charlie, unfortunately you get stuck with that. But every week we get to, talk a bit about footy and talk about like how do we bring someone that's not, I haven't forced football onto my kids. I want them to develop it on their own. Like if they don't, my daughter's a mad Matildas fan, and she watches that and she idolises them. But now she's starting to get into football thanks to the stuff I've been doing. Yeah. So I'm like, cool. Unfortunately, she's a Broncos fan.
How did that happen?
So I took her along to the NRLW launch and she spoke to a lot of the players there. Okay, well, I can't blame her then, because the Broncos are such a big side in the women's game as well. Was Ali Brigginshaw was basically the one that won her over. And fair enough. The way she spoke to her, it's so good because none of them spoke to her like she was a kid. They just spoke to her like she was an interviewer. Yeah. And I was like, that's very professional of them, and I appreciated it. And she appreciated it because although she is a kid and she's just getting into it, she's trying to do it as professionally as possible. And that really won her over. And Ali spent a lot of time with her. And I'm like, if they're winning over one, a kid at a time just by doing that. So
Ali Briggan-Goat is one of the most impressive people I've seen in rugby league.
Yep.
We're so lucky to have her.
100%.
Yeah, she's played a crucial role in the development of the women's game and the conversation around the women's game. And I think credibility too, because she's so talented and it's something that everybody can see. All you have to do is turn on the Broncos and you see it for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so doing that every week with her has been one of my favourite things this year.
That's the best.
Just seeing her develop as well into having comedic timing, I suppose. Like we're not comedians, but we try and be funny, right? But to develop that timing and have her, by the end of this year, she's now starting to help me with the script.
Yeah.
You know,
that's
develop the
awesome.
idea beforehand.
That's cool.
Film it as well. She's holding the camera when I'm on screen. So she's knowing how to do that, knowing the right angles and things like that. So seeing her develop as that, because social media, the way it's going, it's going to be a part of everyone's life in the future. And, you know, they're going to bring it into schools and things like that. So to give her a jump start in it is give me a bit of pride as a dad.
Yeah.
To see
I think
So
also it's a really special experience to share with your daughter too. You
Yes,
know, I'm really close with my dad, and I think back to anything that I did that was like that. Those are such crucial memories, and it's such a nice thing that you can share that experience with her, and you never know what she'll do with it.
Yep.
It could very well become part of her career as an adult.
I still remember when we were in Vegas, it was interesting for me because Roasty, I know, we're always in a pub, we're always having beers, we're always doing something like that. And I got to see you as a dad over there. And like sometimes it wigged me out if I'm honest. And there was at one point we were at, was it Fremont Street where we had that big party that night?
The old school,
The old school, yeah. We were there one night and I remember I'd just seen you and you were with the family that night. It was Dad, not Roasty. And I saw you briefly and you were with the family, so I'll let you do your thing anyway. Then all these bunch of drunk dribblers come up to me and they're joking with me going, "Oh, Roasty," and they go, "Where is he?" And I went, "Oh, he's over there." And I looked over, and you were standing with your family. It was like that scene in Bambi where everyone's happy and everything's going well. And I just sent these 8 drunk goons over to you, and I was like, "I've just ruined their night. I feel so bad."
It was so funny because that was it was the Aaron Woods lookalike, Roger Tour.
Yes, it was. It was Shuey
Varsashek. And I'd never met him, but we'd talked for so long, so it was good to catch up with him. But it was fine. You didn't shoot.
There was
me.
just this moment where I just sent this mob of drunk humans over to you and your family. I was like, "Oh, I feel awful right now. I'm a bad person."
You've brought that up a number of times this year, so you are
so bad.
Yeah, he
about it.
really does feel guilty about that, which
No,
is
it's fine.
fair
But
enough.
just finalise on that. Like, I'm glad I'm using that to create some content. That helps people get into football, helps my fans, have a laugh at football, whatever is happening that week. And also give my daughter a chance, regardless of whether she wants to follow in my footsteps as doing the page, but she might want to do interviews in other sports and other areas, or she might not want to do interviews, but it gives her confidence to speak to people.
Yeah.
And which is a big factor in life. So the fact that I'm using the page to develop that in her is I'm pretty proud.
Yeah, it's unreal. I love it. They're
It's
genuine good bits of content too.
Yeah, I always have a little giggle when I watch
Yeah.
them. Yeah, and she's gorgeous, your daughter. I love that you've gotten her involved because, I mean, me as a little girl, I would have absolutely loved to do something like that.
Yep.
So it's really cool. Now, in the interest of time and the fact that we could probably go on about so many different elements of your content, my favorite thing is the Hottest 100.
Yep.
Shock. Everybody's shocked at home. But I want to talk to you about that in terms of how it came to be. And I think we've chatted briefly, but I really want to understand at what point you decided that the NRL needed a hottest 100 that you would drive. And then I also want to understand what the recruitment process is like for the board for next year.
Yeah, well, we're taking resumes as we speak.
Awesome.
So,
I just happened to bring mine. So
a piece of paper happens to slip into my hand on the way out. It's so bad. But, look, I can't really remember how it came about. I just remember there was like the Hottest 100. I'm sure we've all listened to it at one stage, whether you grow out of it eventually. But and how big that is, and how people we used to gather around, have parties, and have a few beers and barbecue, whatever it was, and listen to the Hottest 100. So I'm like, could we have a Hottest 100 in rugby league? I didn't actually think, it's the hottest players. I'm just like, maybe it's just the best player.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, let's do the hottest player. There was a lot of chat about, how hot some of these players are and things like that. And I'm like, I'm happy to admit these guys are good looking blokes,
Yeah.
right? And I think it gets thrown up all the time. They like people in the comments, oh, you should do it for the women. And I'm like, no, you can't. You can't do it, objectify them like that. But I'm thinking, you know, can you objectify the men? Yeah, maybe a little bit because like, you know, until they blow back and say, no, we can't, we don't want it to happen, then I'll stop. But it's a bit of a laugh. The idea behind it is to have a laugh. It's not to be taken too serious. As you've seen, there's certain, I won't name names just for, I don't want to embarrass them, but there's players that are high up that probably shouldn't be high up. And that's where you take it as a joke, right? There's players in there that get beaten that should be in the top 10 and they're 90th, and someone else, a front rower with a few scars around the head and a wonky nose, is making the top 20. So that's the idea. It's just to have a bit of a laugh. And that's what makes it unique in going, we're having a look at all the players, not just for their looks, but whether they're popular in the game and different things. Yeah. And then we get to the nitty-gritty of like the top 10, top 15. That's where it's like, okay, these guys are the better looking of our team, of our game, sorry. So, yeah, look, I love it, and it's like never really had blowback about it, which is good. I hear people, the players talk about it in change rooms and things, so I assume it's all good. There's players that have they talk about it in the media in a positive light. Never really heard any negative, so I'll keep going until someone pulls me up on it.
When I was in Vegas with the Roosters, it was like that was a few weeks after it had just come out, and I thought it was outrageous that Billy Smith was number 100. I thought that was just ridiculous. He is one hell of a good-looking rooster, and I posted something about it. And when I was over in Vegas, when the Roosters doing their captain's run, as they were coming off, Billy Smith said to me, "Oh, thanks for your support." And I thought he meant, I straight away went, I've always rated Billy Smith as a player who's had a bad injury run. I've always had his back. I'm like, that's right, mate. And he goes, yeah, 100 was just ridiculous, wasn't it? And I thought, holy shit. He's talking about the hottest 100, not his footy career. This is great. Yeah. It's just ingrained. Like it was just almost to the point that Billy Smith, when he said that, assumed I knew what he was talking about, because it's just part of what rugby league is now. I love it. I'm all over it.
In fact, I have had one person blow up about it, and that was Brandon Smith, the cheese.
Oh, I was going to bring him up because he thought when he got veneers that he'd be higher on your list.
Yeah, and he actually dropped from his previous thing. He didn't even make the top 50. I think he was like 60-something. And so then he unfollowed me. And I was devastated. I'm like, maybe I need to have a campaign like to get him back up, and if he gets in the top 50, he has to follow me back. Something, because I miss your cheese. Like, if you could come back. But so that's he's having fun with it, right?
Yeah, he's also taking the piss. Like, But I think there's also an element of accountability to the player too. Like, this is a popularity vote at the end of the day. So if you've got to campaign for yourself, you've got to get yourself out there. You've got to post good photos of yourself.
Yep. Keep that Instagram. Keep that feed.
And from memory, didn't you have a few clubs that sort of, like, didn't the Titans collab
Titans got behind it. They threw their support behind Brimo, which is great. I think the Warriors did as well. But a few teams.
That's unreal.
They
got behind
it. It's so funny. There was a moment when we were up in Redcliffe at KO Stadium. I don't think we've actually mentioned.
I told you this?
No.
Oh, this is great.
We've never spoken about this, I don't think. But we were having lunch with the media team. We had just done an interview with some of the Finns, and we were having lunch, and there's all glass looking out on the training ground, and the boys were still doing laps. And at one point, they all ran past, shirts off. Training was done. They were probably headed off to the lockers. And Herbie ran and then turned his head and came back because and put his face up to the glass, and he thought, we think that he thought Guru was you, and he was like waving at you because
it was about 2 weeks after the hottest 100.
Oh, really?
So he gave us this big wave, and I waved back, and as I'm waving, I'm going to Kat. He definitely thinks I'm roasting. He 100% thinks
he
I'm
was
roasting.
giving you the.
We've never met before.
He's giving you the thank you for the number one.
He was giving you the thank you for the number one wave, but he was just waving at the wrong guy.
He had a face like Luna Park, and I'm like, I have not done this much for this fella. He definitely thinks I'm roasting.
The way that he turned back, it was like, I really need to acknowledge this guy.
So good.
That's good.
I think Herbie was really grateful for the number one spot.
Well, he was, and he went through social media and posted in interviews, mentioned it as well.
How good.
And maybe his teammates were geeing him up a bit, but they were saying how much he was talking about it and stuff.
Yeah.
But
which is so funny.
It's good that they take it in that light. Yeah. It's like, you know what, we're having a bit of laugh. It is a popularity contest most of the time at the end of the day, so. Yeah.
It's going to be funny in like 10 or 15 years' time, or like in 10 years' time when you've got the first 10 hottest 100. Like you can have a vote on who's your number one out of these 10 sort of thing. Or like who gets the most votes or...
The hottest 100 of the
other ways of
decade.
evolving it. And like, should I go back to like, who was the hottest guy, like the hottest 100 of 1994?
Yeah.
But a lot of people probably, you know, they'd have to, who's this name? Who's that? Like, you know, if you didn't grow up in that era. But it'd be interesting to...
You could do like a Hall of Fame as well. You could do Hall of Fame, or you could do Immortals in the hottest 100 space.
I think Kalen Pong is the only guy to win it twice.
Yeah.
So I think it's only been going... I think this will be the fourth year.
I think it's the fifth year. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was the fourth this year. Yeah.
Nico, Kalen Ponga twice, Herbie.
Yeah.
Did you see Herbie coming? Because that sort of surprised me a little bit too.
I don't know what he finished last year. So because you can see the way I do it. You see that as the votes come in, it has a little tally.
Yeah.
So you see he led from the beginning.
Wow.
Especially when Reece Walsh, after going to the grand final, I thought Reece, just popularity alone, would shit in for that.
So I think, you know, Herbie going to the grand final.
He did too.
But then he was the big signing in Redcliffe.
Yeah, that's fair.
Red, the colour red, maybe. Like red training gear. But and he's got a great tan on him.
I mean, he's pretty ripped.
Yeah.
Yeah, bloody hell.
Dolphins posted a video the other day and they knew exactly what they were doing.
He's special.
Yeah.
Who's your tip for 2025?
I think Reece might make a comeback because he's been out of the limelight here, and then he'll make a comeback in training, and there'll be big talks of what he could do, all that sort of stuff. So I think it depends on who people are talking about.
Yeah,
I think you saw that with Herbie.
Yeah,
but that'll die off this year because of he's not the big signing.
Interesting.
This
is interesting. Very interesting.
Depends. Is there a big refresh my memory? Is there a big signing that's happened?
I'm just trying to think as far as
Zach
big
Lomax,
signings.
maybe.
Yeah, Lomax will be talking.
I don't think he'll take it out, but he could jump up.
Yeah,
because there'll be a lot of talk.
What
about
I have, and we were actually talking about this today. Blaze Talagi has had. I see a lot of thirst traps made about him. Jordan Ricky, Reece Walsh. These are the players that I see a lot of thirst traps, and I don't know why I get targeted because Blaze Talagi is 10 years younger than me, and it's just inappropriate. but I get targeted, and I see how many videos are being made about these guys. I feel like Blaze might be a bit of a smoking for next year.
But when you think about though, yes, Herbie obviously moved to a new club. So did Stephen Crichton last year.
Yep.
Another interesting
Critter
one.
was not high enough on that list. I just have
let's
to
not
address
get
the elephant
started,
in the room. Anyway.
Got fan number one over there.
But no, look, you know, as long as the players like it and have a bit of fun with it.
It's all that matters.
Yeah.
It's good.
For sure.
And the fans love it as well. So.
Yeah. It's all that
It
matters.
always ties in with Valentine's Day. I always try and tie it in to be dropped on Valentine's Day.
That's good.
Yeah.
It's great content. It
I try not
adds
to get
a nice
too biased as well. Sometimes I put out a post like using a player.
Yeah.
And as soon as I do, you see a bump up in their votes.
So
it's like I can't really be seen promoting a player over another one. So
Yeah.
it's like if I use a post, I've got to use like 5 or 6 different players, so the attention's not just on one.
That's
so
that's
weird to think
unbelievable.
about, yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, the politics involved.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
It's like running a pageant.
Yeah.
I think the hottest 100, the top 10 should be an event and they should be unveiled like a.
Mate, I don't think it's a crazy idea. I don't think it's that far off.
No, that's what I want. You know what I'd love to do is build up to a point where we have a party, at a pub, and you have a countdown on the big screen. And just have the post ready to go. So you just worry about social media.
It's almost like the way that Budgie do their stuff would be perfect. Yeah.
And I think they'd be the perfect partner to do it with. I'll chat to them. I'd also love to do a calendar of the top 12.
Yeah.
But it comes out in February, right? So do I change the date to December? Not a lot of people are talking about footy in December, so it's a bit harder. But it also gives me content to worry about in December. But if I did that, then you'd have a calendar ready to go in
Calendar's
January.
a good idea.
Calendar's a good idea. Well, that's actually where I remember it starting from.
Yes.
They used to have
Yeah,
the
same.
hottest guys in league and they'd make a calendar. And this was back in the 90s and stuff. And you're like, yeah, I remember that. And then they stopped it for some reason. So that's where it was born as well from that.
Jeez,
You could just make a calendar that is only the rugby league season as well.
Oh, that's a good idea.
I don't mind that.
Yeah.
That's pretty much my life. It's not
you
in,
could
it's
just
not in dates, it's in rounds.
Get a bit creative.
See,
and the only
that's
dates.
where we collab, Kat. That's where we collab. Yeah.
Yeah, should I trademark that real
Yes,
quick?
yeah,
But the
yeah.
only events on the calendar are rugby league specific dates.
like
Anything
that.
that could affect the calendar.
Yep.
All right, cool. I think we're onto something.
Yep.
I'm into that.
Well, that was my top moment for you, NRL Roasty.
Yep.
Do you have anything else that you wanted to talk about before we wrap up today?
Yeah, look, I think talking about moments, there's a lot throughout the year you sort of do forget, but one of the big ones has been the collaborations between clubs, fans. I've had great things with the Warriors to the point where, came and helped support their club during Magic Round.
That was unreal.
Yeah, that was good fun. I got called a turncoat, but there was no Dragons were there. So, and that was just good fun though. Their fans are absolutely unreal, and they just welcomed me in. Because I had guys asking me to do the Harkers and thing. I'm like, I can't. I can't. That's disrespectful. I can't do it. Ask me to stick out the tongue and all that. I'm like, nah, I just don't want to get cancelled right now. But it was just so much fun being in there with them, and the win too. They had a massive win over the Panthers, which was great. But collabing with them, we know Jacko's great over there. Their whole team over there is brilliant.
Yeah.
We've got to a point now where they're messaging me saying, hey, this is happening. We got the Sean Johnson retiring and stuff. And hey, we want to do this bits and pieces if you want to do it. I'm like, yeah, sweet, let's do it. Other pages coming in, like when I said I wanted to join another club for Magic Round, had a bunch of teams come in, Bulldogs, Titans, even the Storm, which are generally a bit standoffish with my stuff, which was great. And the fans. So Winston Neville, shout out to him. He just
legend
sends me collab posts whenever he wants, and I'll just accept them because I know the content's good.
Yeah. And
I'll have other pages that'll come to me or other content creators, individuals that'll come to me and go, hey mate, I've just made this. Would you love to collab? I'm like, yep. I'm a fan, so I want to help the fans as well.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're doing brilliant content and wanting me to collab with them means I'm having a bit of an influence over them as well. So
for sure.
It gives you a bit of a proud moment, and I'm happy to help them out. So working with them, working with the teams throughout this whole year has been probably a biggest jump as well.
Yeah.
It's been some of the best content.
It's funny, even with me, like occasionally I'll do a post that I think will overlap into your sort of area, and I'll just do the same thing. I'll just sort of make, I think I did an SJ one a few weeks ago and just thought, oh yeah, sweet, this fits with what we're doing. Yeah.
Sorry, you forget to mention you because we talk so much. There's been a lot of times we've collabed on stuff.
Where it's just stuff that just works. It's
100%.
Yeah. And we collabed stuff at the start of the year about Hottest 100 as well. And all of the content did really well. Yeah.
It's unreal. The community that's growing. And you talk about, I remember.
Might have been the Sean Johnson highlights.
Sean Johnson one, it went fucking enormous. It went crazy. It was great.
That's benefiting both of us, right?
Yeah.
You've done the hard work of putting the post together. I may have the bigger audience, but then you've taken the time out. We've collabed, and it's just gone.
Just works,
and it works for the fans as well. So.
I still remember, at the start of this year, mate, when we did that cricket content or whatever, and it was like the first time we'd probably spent a proper day, just the two of us and whatnot. And I remember you talking about, and I'll be honest with you, when you said it to me, I didn't know him at all, but you said, oh, this guy, Winston Neville, doing this content, blah, blah, blah. And it sort of made me sit up and go, oh, I wonder who he is. I'll go check him out. And I've been obsessed ever since.
Yeah.
Such a great fella.
Yep.
Unreal. He came in here.
Worker, loves his footy. Absolutely diabolical Bulldogs degenerate. But, and I think you might have mentioned it, Kat, you're saying he can take any bit of information and link it back to the Bulldogs. Yeah. And it's just amazing how he can do that.
I love those scenes now.
Guys like that is what makes our game great too, right? He's the biggest super fan. If you're the Bulldogs, you want 100,000 Winston Nevilles, right? Hectic Freds, Mad Dragon, all those guys, right? You want these guys, as idiotic as a lot of people call them, or dumb or whatever, it's fucking good content. Yeah. And it's good fun and it's fanatical, and that's what we want.
Yeah, and clubs should be putting their arm around them.
100%.
For me, I think it is amazing to see Winston Neville. You see the scenes from Belmore and he's the bloke on the drum, on shoulders. I'm like, that's hectic.
Yes.
That is unbelievable.
No, I can't. I love having met Winston and seeing what he's like. Seeing him in the middle of a bunch of Arabs with the drums in the middle of Belmore is the biggest fever dream situation, but I absolutely love it and I get excited for him.
Is he doing he deserves the shoulders in and then the shoulders out?
He's all over it.
Yeah.
He is all over it. I wouldn't even be surprised if he has Lebanese drums at his wedding after all of these.
Because he came in here to do a podcast and he came in, he was talking to us and he was quiet. super polite. But then he sat down there and I said, "So Bulldogs," and he just turned into a different human. It was great. The passion just went bang.
The switch, yeah.
Yeah.
I love too that episode we did with him at the start of the year where he spoke about the defensive structures of Canterbury. And at the time, it seemed batshit crazy.
Yeah, and he got pillared for it.
He got absolutely pumped and he just kept sharing it. And now it's all come to fruition.
Yep.
Incredible. I love that.
And like you said, having seen that passion at the start of the season and then the way things have unfolded and his ability to just stick with them from day one to where we are right now and being on that journey, I'm so happy for him to see people like yourself collaborating with him and giving him a platform to share his content because he puts in so much work. And you mentioned Hectic Fred. I love that Hello Sport get him on their live streams and show him off as well because I love Hectic Fred. I interviewed him almost 2 years ago for a completely different show and he was a bit smaller at the time, but there's just something really special about him and it's really nice to see other people recognizing that and jumping on board and giving them a platform to show what they know.
He's good, Hectic Fred. Mate, Tom and Eddie absolutely fucking adore him.
Yeah.
They love him.
There's nothing not to like.
Yeah.
He's a gentle giant. He's the tallest dude ever.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Well, that's it, Roasty. That's
Wow.
it. That's our top bits of NRL Roast for 2024. No doubt over finals there will be plenty more. So if you don't follow NRL Roast, I don't even know what you're doing here. That's crazy. Please go follow him. Look out for that incredible content that you'll see all throughout finals and then obviously next year as well. What can we expect from NRL Roast in the off season? Are you going to do anything different or take a bit of a break?
Yeah,
What's the
I actually
idea?
got asked this today. Like we've got postseason footy, we've got international
Pacific
footy, so we get another
Championships and
month of
whatnot.
footy, which is great. Normally grand final, I sit down, I smoke a cigar and have a whiskey, and that's like I'm done. Like I don't have to worry too much. But this year I won't. You won't have it. You have to worry about the international thing. So I'll have a month of that. But then I think I am probably going to switch off for like 6 weeks.
You know what I love? Just for like 3 or 4 weeks every year, he just disappears.
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
It just disappears and he won't even say in the group chat, "Hey boys, logging off for a few weeks." He'll just go, whew. And I remember years ago, we all used to go, "Fuck, is his page been deleted, blah, blah." Now we just used to go, "Oh yeah, Roasty's just having his spell."
Yeah, like I remember I added my personal page earlier in the year because I had worries, there was issues, but I added it in. I forgot to take myself out, so then I deleted my private the NRL Roast page. I remember seeing a message from you. "Oh, what's happened here? Why isn't he talking to us?" Like,
Oh, that's so funny.
God, is
but
he
yeah,
okay?
like I do that. I just everyone hates like, "Oh, hey guys, I'm having a break from social media."
100%.
No one cares. Like, just go. So I'm just
Don't be
like,
that
cool.
guy.
So I do like sometimes I will just switch off for 2 weeks because you do need. People who, if you work in social media and you read the comments, you need a break from it.
Yep.
You do need a mental health, and that's the best way to do it is just to switch off. Normally I do it for 2 weeks. I go away with the family. We're going to Brisbane in January, so I'll probably do it then. I enjoy a bit of cricket, just watch cricket. And I can actually then watch sport without feeling like I have to jump on the computer. So that's a good mental health break. But yeah, look, I might even extend it out this year.
I think I might follow your lead just quietly.
Yeah.
Just switch off.
I think it's important.
It is. Your mental health is in this day and age is getting harder to maintain with the way social media is. So if you work in social media, take that break, switch off. You're going to come back. The people are going to be there when you come back.
It's good to be Bruce Wayne for a little bit.
Yeah, 100%. That's a good one.
There's power in that.
Yes.
It also goes to show that you know the value of the content that you bring during the season, that you don't need to just create for the sake of creating when you could also just be having valuable off time with your family.
Correct.
I am such a fan of just disappearing off social media for a few weeks. It's really nice and you feel a bit mysterious.
Yeah.
Bloody oath.
And you do come back and you get the comments of, "Where were you?" You're like, "And I was missed." No.
Yeah, I agree.
That's good
Well,
fun.
thank you so much for joining us. Looking forward to your finals content and hopefully some more fun collaborations for next year as well.
Thank you so much for having me, Kat. Appreciate it. And Guru.
Thanks for coming in, brother. We always appreciate having you.